Hey guys, and welcome to another brand new video. In this video, we actually have some pretty fun stuff to go and talk about because the PlayStation 5 is actually getting a huge internal change. Now, you guys heard me right? Like, we have heard about this brand new PlayStation 5 refresher, and a lot of folks are kind of curious and if it's gonna be better, it's gonna be worse, and all that type of stuff. Now, a lot of folks usually kind of assume based on the prior PlayStation 5s that it'd only be in regards to a basically more of a heat sink change or a slightly maybe CPU change or maybe just a different layout change, but apparently not. We now actually have proper information of the brand new PlayStation 5 model CFI 1202 is actually doing an internal change when it comes to the actual hardware. Don't mind my hair just got the shower. So basically, because I look like an anime character. So basically with this, we actually have some pretty interesting stuff because there actually is now an internal change that is somewhat significant. Now, does this mean that your old console is going to be obsolete? Absolutely not. Specs are very similar. But as well, does this mean that the brand new console you guys may end up getting the next few weeks, few months, is a little bit better? In theory, slightly, but that's been ongoing. This is technically the third or fourth integration right now. It depends if you include through the beta or not, the alpha product. So a lot of stuff to talk about, a lot of things I mentioned, so let's go talk about it. And as well, make sure you guys are subscribed with the notifications on, as well for the brand new PlayStation 5 giveaway. Amazon links down below. We have the Twitter and Twitch stream. We'd love to have you guys up there, and as well the Target links too. And let's dive into the video. So very first and foremost, as I mentioned, we do actually have a brand new PlayStation 5 refresher. I'm gonna go a little bit more in depth at it, but there actually is a brand new, it seems like, just internals, looking on the GPU, CPU side, and it actually is a better version. So it's very similar, like I said, spec-wise too. So if you guys have an older console, don't feel bad. But let's talk about this. So the PlayStation 5 refresh boasts a new 6 nanometer AMD Oberon Plus SoC. Oberon gets the TSMC die shrink treatment. Now, we've actually discussed die shrinking before on the channel, where I still barely understand it because it's a little bit more above my, I guess, technological knowledge. But from what I understand, we'll obviously go and talk about it from the article's perspectives, is I think it's just essentially making the hardware smaller, more efficient, better lineage, better voltage, better it's a lot of that type of stuff. Or as well as you guys can see, maybe moving to a smaller nanometer node, so it's just different technology inside of it. That's probably the world's worst description ever. Maybe if someone's smart and wants to go and show off their brains in the comment section down below, feel free to help out folks a little bit more. But Sony refreshed its PlayStation 5 console about a month ago. I think we've covered this up on the channel. Gaming tech enthusiasts have revealed little by little the underlying changes delivered with the CFI 1202 consoles on the web and social media. The critical difference that precipitated the new compact cooling system and lighter build is Sony's shiny new Oberon Plus processor inside the refreshed consoles. So the first two revisions of the Sony PlayStation 5 used the same AMD semi-custom processor. Then, what we would do in the PC world would describe as the APU in the PS5 was dubbed Oberon and was fabricated on TSMC's basically a 7 nanometer process, I believe. So according to, and we're going to talk about this and show this up in a second, the Angstronomics report, backed up with the refreshed APU comparison imagery, the new Oberon Plus is present in the CFI 1202 models, mass-produced by TSMC on the 6 nanometer process. So these are the spot differences in the chip packages, and the source calculates that the newer processor has a die size of below 260 nanometers, what a reduction from the approximately 300 basically nanometers for the Oberon. So that's a lot of big techie words out there, and I'm still not really the most smartest with it. But essentially, when it comes to, I think, the processing units, is that I think it's just being updated. It's just a brand new model, slightly smaller, and I think that usually just it's I think just more efficient, I believe, too, as well. So the next paragraph for this. The new Oberon Plus brings practical benefits to the PS5 CFI 1202 models with its die shrink. Officially, TSMC's 6 nanometer delivers 18% higher logic density over the 7 nanometer process. So this actually is a proper internal upgrade. Now, once again, I think GPUs, CPUs are pretty understandable. I think GPUs are more of like graphically, CPU is more of I guess system, and the APU is kind of maybe the mixture of the both. I wish I knew, I've built PCs before, so I'm somewhat familiar with the differences of the stuff, but I'm kind of dumb as well. So that's why I would love a more proper person in the comment section down below if you guys know. Essentially, just a little bit more efficient on a slightly different nanometer process, so it went from 7 to 6. And it's also, I think, is also tying it with the new consoles being slightly lighter, because they've been slowly lowering down that, and as well making it slightly more efficient, it seems like, too. Now, as I mentioned, I don't think this is like a huge change on your console. Like if you have a first generation or got your console on launch, I don't think it's too much of a big change or anything you have to worry about or feel bad you get the first console or whatever, but it is something to note because they are changing these consoles. So it's also making them better, like, which is always nice to see. More efficient, more power efficient, more better processing, etc., etc. As well as this also basically able to fully design rule capable with previously produced 7nm chips for more straightforward mitigation. So basically, just they have a very, like, I guess, streamlined processing. Like, a lot of these words are like a little bit above my head. So, however, TSMC's linked press release doesn't mention some of the associated benefits for moving from a nanometer 7 to nanometer 6. As well as a smaller die, a processor can also see lower power consumption, which, as I mentioned before, with better thermals, which would probably mean if you have better power consumption and you're using less power, that means you have less money you have to spend on heat sinks, which then also, if it's a smaller heat sink or more efficient heat sink, that means you can also ship the product cheaper, and as well as also the console can be also weighing less. So I guess it makes sense. I mean, in my opinion, it makes sense. Like, maybe a good example is if you have like an older PC, you're trying to run a more intensive game, your fans will usually be blowing, it's super loud, super annoying. But if you guys have a newer PC, it runs a little bit cooler, and it's just more power efficient because it's like using like 60% of its computing power versus, say, 100. We're trying to push 110 with overclocking. I hope that's a good example because I'm not really sure if that is the best one or not. So basically, this just means lower power consumption, better thermals. It's also particularly true where the chip designer doesn't respec other aspects of the chip, like its clock speed. So this aspect of the CFI 1202 was part of the teardown video earlier in September. The revised PS5 reportedly used 10% less power for the same gaming experience in that video. So basically, it's just a more efficient PlayStation 5. We have also seen that the 2022 revision had some more reductions in cooler system bulk, and we've kind of known about that because it's a little bit easier to see than internals, and have to go through all the APUs, CPUs, GPUs. And overall system weight also did bring down Sony's bill of materials, which, as I've mentioned before, just basically means the console itself is just a little bit cheaper. And I'm sure you guys would agree, if you're sending out, like, let's say 20 million consoles so far, that's a lot of money if you're sending that through, like, just in general on big cargo ships or in trucks or going to stores, Walmart, Targets, etc. Let alone, as well, you also have to move the plastics to build it, the internals, the specs. You have to put everything in one factory to combine everything. Like, all that type of stuff adds up a lot of money. So like many device makers who would have submitted a flurry of design improvements alongside the order for a new batch of 6 nano6 SoCs, the console industry is peculiar in that it might steer away from over-performance improvements within the same generation. So Sony was happy that the die shrink allowed for it to reduce its BOM, as described above, and didn't have any further ambitions for it. Indeed, the 10% power saving when gaming isn't a benefit that will be advertised, but it's welcome nonetheless. And I'm in the same boat. Like, I actually usually prefer a better, more efficient console. If I could save a little bit more money on the side, have it be a little bit more efficient, have my internals a little bit more, less hot, so it'll last longer and whatever, I'm cool with that. I like that. But at the same time, it doesn't really seem like it's changing too much besides a slight power decrease and maybe a very slight performance, like very, very small. So I think if you guys have an older console, it shouldn't be that bad. So go and say, lastly, it is good to know that Sony's consoles didn't lose up to 600 grams of mass over the last 2 generations, so that the last 2 iterations of the console, to any real detriment to the system as well. But some folks say that the 2021 revision ran a little hotter than the original, too, on top of that. And also, they also did go and observe that the PS5 is the first of the big 3 current-gen consoles to actually get the 6 nanometer chip, and that Sony is getting nearly 50% more PS5 chips per wafer than Microsoft with its Xbox Series X processors too as well. And you guys can actually kind of see too, for this, kind of explain the die shrinks, these console refreshes are the modern day equivalent of what used to happen decades ago in the microprocessor industry, where existing designs would be ported to the new, more efficient process nodes with minimal rework. So it's not really changing the hiccup and messing with the consoles, it's just all around looking seeming pretty good. So TSMC ensures that their 6 nanometer EVU process is design rule compatible with their same 7 nanometer mode 2 as well, so they can even reuse existing designs for the N7 to use on an N6, which also maybe would work out well if your console breaks, you had to send it on in or whatever. So they have an 18.8% increase in logic transistor density due to the CP node, which you can learn about the article there, which if you guys want more of a deep dive into this type of stuff, let me know. And the N6 also lowers power consumption for a given performance level versus the N7 too as well. So a lot of cool stuff. Like I said, if you guys want more of an in-depth video, let me know in the comment section. I don't mind because there is some stuff out there. It's just a little bit above what I know. But at the end of the day, it does seem like there's a new PlayStation 5 with better internals, and it's be either coming already or very, very soon. So give me your thoughts and comments down below. And as well, make sure you guys are subscribed with the notifications on, as well for the brand new PlayStation 5 giveaway. The Amazon links down below, Target links down below, and like I said, make sure you guys are subscribed with those notifications on too as well. Love you guys.